Hey, I'll see you on tour in Las Vegas, Chicago, and Grand Rapids. In Chicago, it's stand-up and a live panel show. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and make sure you go to jimmydore.com. Here is Don Lemon, and I don't know who this woman is he's talking to. He's going to argue that Kamala Harris is not African-American. Now, you just said she wasn't raised by black people. Her father was Jamaican, right? And her mother was Indian, not American Indian.
And she was raised by her mother.
And she was raised by her mother. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, her father disavowed her because Kamala Harris made a joke mocking her Jamaican family descent, stereotyping them as pot, drug users, and her father, who is a Marxist intellectual, took great offense to that and said that their ancestors would be rolling in their grave if they saw that Kamala Harris essentially stereotyped their family as Jamaican weed smokers, like she has done. So she has no connection, and even then, and I have solidarity with the international international black people, but she wasn't raised in a black household, and that's just a fact. She was raised by an Indian mother, and she's Jamaican. So the psyop trying to push Kamala as being relatable to the black experience is completely false, especially considering she's directly responsible with locking black men up, keeping innocent men in jail. She put civil asset forfeiture, which studies show steals around 65%. 65% of people impacted by civil asset forfeiture are black men. And that's the policy that she pushed to bankrupt our community. And she did it from the outside in, not from the inside, looking for the best for the black community. And this is what black people knew about Kamala. We knew her. This is not a reintroduction. The liberal class trying to say we just reintroduce Kamala Harris. That's not going to work. She ran before and only got 1% black support because we did our research and saw the massive damage she did to the black community. She pushed for sentences for nonviolent offenders because she believed in slave labor. She was a big advocate of slave labor. So she kept innocent men in jail, advocated for harsh interpretation of the law so the state can benefit from slavery. The biggest enemy of the black community you can possibly ask for is someone like Kamala Harris.
Well, here's what Don Lemon had to say, and this was I don't know exactly when this was, but it's a while ago because he was still on CNN. So here we go.
When you see her blackness, but she is also South Asian. Her mom is South Asian, and her dad is Jamaican.
April, let me listen.
Yes.
More power to her, and I think it's great. That should be enough. Listen, it is enough that she's a black woman.
We are not a monolith.
No.
But they did the same thing.
No. I think you're not hearing what people are saying. The people who are saying is she black enough, that's bull. That's BS. But to want a distinction to say, is she African American, or is she black, or is she whatever? There is nothing wrong with that. There is a difference between being African American and being black. Latino people are people of color, but they're not black. They're brown people.
She is a woman of color, but she is a black woman.
Okay, that's fine. I agree with that. But is she African American? No. But is she African American? There is a difference. There's nothing wrong with that. No one is trying to take anything away from her.
Let's go down into her lineage.
I think you're falling into the trap of that. All she had to do was say, I am black, but I'm not African American. That's it.
Don, I'm not falling in a trap. I'm not falling in. Let me finish. Hold on. I'm not falling into a trap by that. When she goes down her lineage, many Africans landed in Jamaica and all these other Caribbean islands. So she could indeed be African American mixed with other races. But she is
Jamaica's not America.
But she is a black woman. She was born here.
Come out of Jim Crow.
Okay, well let's go into Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was born in Canada.
So you could always depend on Don Lemon to get to the heart of the superficial bullshit. So is that, first of all, does it make a bit of difference? So someone from Jamaica, he makes the point that they didn't come out of Jim Crow. They're Jamaican, not African American, but she is black. They all agree that she's black. Does any of that make a difference, Nick?
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The reason why I bring it up and the reason why I think it's significant, because the corporate media is lying to people about Kamala Harris' heritage. They keep saying she's black. They keep pretending that she lived her life as black. Do you guys know in 2016 when she ran for Senate, she ran to be the first Indian senator? I showed this on the RBN in my live stream today. And when she won, it was announced that California announced their first Indian senator.
Well,
I'm glad you have it.
Here it is. California Harris, first Indian American U.S. Senator. That's how the AP reported it when she got elected. Attorney General Kamala Harris, or Kamala, I'm not sure which one's not hateful, wins the open Senate seat to replace retiring Democratic Senator Barbara Boxer in a race that featured and then here it says the victory for the 51-year-old Harris makes her the first Indian American senator. So
at the age of 51, the tender age of 51, Jimmy, she found her black roots. And when she wanted to run, that's when she marketed herself as a black woman.
And then when she wanted to run for president, Biden picks Kamala Harris as running mate, first black woman. Well, what the fuck?
Yep. Yeah, I'm sorry I got ahead of your presentation, but this is exactly what I was referring to. And truth matters, doesn't it, Jimmy? Like at the end of the day, her race is very insignificant. But I'm bringing this up because I don't want my people to be misled. You have the corporate media that's pushing this lie. And I'm going to speak from my personal experience and what I know from my community. We would adopt you. Like, Kamala, if you Indian, that's cool. We could adopt you. But you got a white man husband. Like, she had a black husband, black children, and she advocated for pro-black policy. She's part of the cookout, but she's a Zionist. She was giving speeches at AIPAC. She's friends with Benjamin Netanyahu. She's never been part of the community, and this lie and this entire thing of black women rallying behind Kamala Harris, I'm speaking out against this because truth has to matter for something, right?
Yeah, I wonder what her home life is like with Doug Emhoff, right? How'd she land somebody so dead sexy? That's my question. I mean, I just wonder what his core routine is. So here, I want to show what you actually... you said Kamala Harris in the primary only had 1% black support. This is the person liberals think will turn out black voters. K-Hive was a bunch of white women cosplaying as black. Black people hate Kamala Harris.
And gay white dudes too. Someone fixed that, and that's why I added to that. It's mostly gay white dudes and some white women that was cosplaying as K-Hive.
I'm going to say a hive of mud wasps is more popular than K-Hive. And I'll do you one better. You say she only got 1%. I bet you that 1% weren't even human. I bet they were bots. Okay, that's my guess. And I thought she was going to pick, I bet she picks Elizabeth Warren as her running mate. Then they could have an all-Indian. Anyway, the whole thing. Kamala Harris was getting dominated in the black vote by Elizabeth Warren, you tweeted out. Is that true?
Yeah, she was losing to the first transracial candidate to the black vote. And yeah, according to Quinn Piac, that's the poll that was quoted by Fox News. Elizabeth Warren had 8%, and Bernie was like 2 times higher than Elizabeth Warren. Remember the smear about the white Bernie bros, even though Bernie was doing second best to Joe Biden? Unfortunately, you had Joe Biden had like 46%, but that's the Obama rub. That's the scourge of black neoliberalism that RBN exists to oppose. But what does it say that this radical, this person who's clearly connected to the streets, you see Elizabeth Warren, had got 8 times more support than Kamala Harris. But the narrative, because I'm a psyop buster, that's the only reason I do what I do. The narrative is that Kamala is going to be someone who's going to take this on for Joe Biden as he struggles with the black vote. And that's not going to happen. They know it's not going to happen. They already smearing black men, Jimmy. We're sexist. We are white adjacent, according to Joanne Reed.
You're white adjacent. Yes, I know. I saw that. Yeah. So she's basically the roulette wheel of racials. She could be anything she wants, and she could be black. But here, I like this Kamala Harris facts, or Kamala. I don't know how to say it. Raised in Canada, not California. I didn't know that. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Here's another one. She's not African American. She's Indian and Jamaican. We already talked about that. Her political career started out of an affair with a. Oh, that's when she was with.
Yeah.
Brown?
What's that? Willie Brown, right, from San Francisco. He appointed her to a couple of boards, and that's how she got.
The allegation, Jimmy. The allegation, once again, the allegation is that Kamala slept her way up to power. good for her. I mean, doing what she had to do, that's politics for you. But that's the allegation regarding the fact she was raised in Canada. That's to my earlier point, Jimmy. And I said before, if you know, you know, we would adopt you in the Black community. I mean, if you're around us, you know, I mean, you in our community, you will be easily adopted in our community. But Kamala's not there, guys. That's the point I'm making. Like, even if she's not full Black, that is not the point I'm making. The idea that she's African American, that she's understanding our experience, it's completely fiction. That's my main point. But go ahead, Jimmy.
Also, there's more to it. It says she imprisoned over 2,000 Black for minor drug charges and held them past their release date for free county labor resource, in some respects, slave labor. Now, I know about this because they actually had to sue her twice. They took her to court. A judge ordered her to release prisoners twice. And she said her office argued in court that they didn't want to release those prisoners because they needed them for the free labor. That was for real. That was an argument they made in court. The people that worked for her, not her specifically, but the people from her attorney general office, when they argued why they hadn't released the prisoners that they were ordered to release, they said because it would upset the prison labor system. Do you know that, right?
Yep. Yeah, and this is like, it wasn't white liberals who took Kamala down. Like, do people think white liberals is the reason why you had Kamala surge in support after the debate where she called out Jim Crow Joe for his racial segregation policy, and after that, interest in Kamala Harris surged. It wasn't the white liberal establishment; it was Black Twitter. Black Twitter looked into Kamala Harris, and we saw how many Black men, how many Black families she destroyed. Like her advocacy for civil asset forfeiture, her destroying these families. What do you guys think the consequences to the family when this when this stuff happens? We had civil asset forfeiture pushed in our communities. We had the breadwinners of our families taken out of the workforce. It devastated our community. It's not something that we can forgive, and that's why she struggled with the Black vote, and she will continue. Right now, they're made, according to polls, she's still losing to Trump. But the second that people who don't know she is investigate her record, people are not going to buy it. No one's going to support her because there's nothing worse than a traitor.
Well, also, I didn't know this, that she is a descendant of Hamilton Brown, one of the largest slave owner traders in Jamaican history. Did you know that?
Did not know that, but I'm not surprised. Not surprised.
So,
it's class over everything, of course. Of course. Of course. But go ahead, Jimmy.
So here she is. She's being asked what she's going to do specifically. This is from the Griot. She's being asked what she's going to do specifically for the Black community, and she doesn't have anything she's going to do. In fact, she brags that she's not going to do anything specifically for the Black community. Listen to her answer.
So by default, it affects Black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit Black children, Black families, Black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No, because whatever benefits that Black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country. Right?
So that just seems strange to me. Now, I've often, let me juxtapose it to this. So here is when she's asked, what are you going to do for immigrants? And here she has a litany of things she's going to do for them. Let's listen.
On January 20th, 2021, if you are president, what specifically would you do with the thousands of people who try to reach the United States every day and want a better life through asylum?
I would tell them, don't come. Okay, anyway. that was her message when she went down to Central America. Anyway, let's listen to what she says.
Immediately on January 20th of 2021, I will, first of all, we cannot forget our DACA recipients, and so I'm going to start there. I will immediately, by executive action, reinstate DACA status and DACA protection to those young people. I will further extend protection for deferral of deportation for their parents and for veterans who we have so many who are undocumented and have served our country and fought for our democracy.
Wait, undocumented. I didn't know there were undocumented veterans.
I didn't either.
What in the shit is she talking about? You mean using illegals for military service? I mean, I've heard of that, but once they're veterans, I'm pretty sure they're documented. Okay. Anyway, but this is more about how she's got a litany of things she's going to do for the undocumented, and not one thing she was going to do for the African American community.
I will also immediately put in place a meaningful process for reviewing the cases for asylum. I will release children from cages. I will get rid of the private detention centers.
Listen to all these things she has.
And I will ensure that this microphone that the President of the United States holds in her hand is used in a way that is about reflecting the values of our country.
So I just find it, I mean, I've said that if you get everybody Medicare for all, that helps everybody, including black people. I've said those things like that. If you raise the minimum wage, that helps everybody, including black. The best thing you can do for everybody is to get them a living wage and health care. But it's funny that, she now wants to highlight her blackness, and when asked what she's going to do for African Americans specifically, she doesn't have anything, but she had a litany of things she was going to do for undocumented immigrants. So anything you'd like to say about that, Nick?
Yeah, you took the words right from my mouth, because there's actually an idea that she said that I agree with. I think we both agree with that. If you uplift the black working class, you uplift everybody. And as a Marxist, as someone who is class conscious, a revolutionary first, I tell people all the time, especially my poor white brothers and sisters, advocating for healthcare lifts everyone up. When you look at the black community, we have the highest percentage of medical debt. We struggle the most with healthcare costs, and our life expectancy struggle because of that. But Kamala Harris is against single payer. So if you focus on class-based politics, you will lift everyone up. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to focus on, this is what a lot of the criticism on Kamala and the Democrats generally is from radicals, that, you don't have a black agenda. You're not doing this for us. You don't support a minimum wage. In the year 2024, to be honest with you guys, that's not my criticism of the Democratic Party no more. My criticism of the Democratic Party is not what they're not doing for our community. It's what they're currently doing. Right now, the Democratic Party, led by Democratic mayors, are building cop cities all over the United States. It's the Democratic Party that is overseeing and facilitating a genocide. It was the Democratic Party and Joe Biden that bombed Somalia. My criticism of the Democratic Party is not what they're failing to do, it's what they're actively doing right now. And Kamala Harris was there every step of the way. I'm already seeing people that was part of the uncommitted campaign that said they wouldn't vote for Joe Biden because of genocide start to soften their approach regarding Kamala. No, Kamala Harris is just as guilty as Joe Biden regarding the genocide in Israel. Joe Biden wrote the crime bill, but in order to have the crime bill, you need foot soldiers to implement it. Joe Biden wrote the crime bill. Kamala Harris was part of the foot soldier apparatus that implemented the crime bill, and she should never be forgiven for that. But go ahead, Jimmy.
So, this is when Tulsi destroyed Kamala. Yeah. And so she touches on those things you're talking about. Let's just listen to that.
Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
So all those things are correct. She's correct about all those things. She fought to keep, not only that, but she also criminalized truancy, right? Which, who does that affect the most, right? And she bragged about it. And let me show you. I'll show you one more thing, which is this is really stunning. She gave this speech, and I can't believe someone let her give this speech. But she's going to brag that she funded prisons more than schools. Let's listen to this.
Wow. I have friends like Eva Patterson. Okay, so I say with all love and warmth that part of the concern also for people who are progressive thinking and liberal minded, or just progressive thinking in terms of just fix it, is that we all have these posters in our closet that is attached to a stick that we sometimes will card out when we're talking about criminal justice policy and those statistics that you first heard when we opened it up, incarceration. And we run around with these signs, build more schools, less jails. Build more schools, less jails. And we walk around everywhere. Build more schools. We protest. Build more schools, less jails. Put money into education, not prisons. There's a fundamental problem with that approach, in my opinion. And it's this. I agree with that conceptually, but you have not addressed the reason I have 3 padlocks on my front door. So part of the discussion about reform of criminal justice policy has to be an acknowledgement that crime does occur, and especially when it is violent crime and serious crime, well, there should be a broad consensus that there should be serious and severe and swift consequence to crime.
So that's her message. She's mocking people who say build more schools and less prisons. She's literally mocking them. She's validating everything that Tulsi just said about her. And the black, you're saying the black community knows this about her.
Yeah, and Jimmy, if Trump is smart, he's going to attack her on this. Just wait. Trump. It's only a matter of time for Trump attack Kamala Harris for locking up a ton of black men. He already beta testing you to attack a lot on Joe Biden regarding the crime bill. And I know I'm a little bit ideologically biased here, but I think it will be a giant mistake if Donald Trump tries to paint Kamala Harris. Like I saw Sean Hannity try to say she's a far left radical Marxist as she's advocating for the prison industrial complex. And I know I'm biased, but I think it would be a giant mistake if Trump does that. If Trump try to paint her as the next AOC, what he needs to do is to point out how she betrayed our community. If Trump runs an ad and point out how Kamala Harris locked up black men, it's a wrap, fam. Well, whether he does it or not, we see he snatched defeat from the jaws of victory before, because I think it would be very dumb to try and paint this corporate sellout who does the bidding of Israel as some sort of far left radical. If he does that, he gives Kamala a chance. If he tells the truth about her ideology, it's a Trump red wave, baby. But we see how the GOP handled this, because I've already seen indications that they're gonna pretend that she's some sort of Hugo Chavez or something.
Yeah, she's a communist or something. But you're right. What they should, if I was advising them, I would just say you talk about her real record, that she was part of the Biden administration. Joe Biden brags about the crime bill, never apologized for it. That's why black and brown people are locked up at way higher rates, because he had those mandatory minimum sentences. He made crack be way worse than white powdered cocaine. All that stuff came from Joe Biden, not from Donald Trump. In fact, Donald Trump did the STEP Act, which let black people out of prison. So he should highlight that contrast for sure, that that Donald Trump let black people out of prison, and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden made sure they stayed in prison and were put in prison. That would be that's the way to go on that. And I would just show that her mocking people, more prison, more schools, less prison. Yeah. What, you're gonna mock that idea? You're gonna mock the idea of more schools, less prisons. And in a country, we're the world's largest penal colony, right? We imprison more people by raw numbers than China. By even not percentage-wise, raw numbers. We have 5% of the world's population. We incarcerate 25% of the world's prison population. It's crazy what we do here in the United States. And why do we do that? Because Bill Clinton and the Democrats and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been in bed with the for-profit prison industry and the slave labor that they get. So we didn't stop slavery in America. We just shifted it to the prisons, right?
Absolutely. And that's so well said in that clip. Kamala Harris sounds no different from the most unhinged Reaganite.
That's right.
But as we said in our earlier conversation, what does left and right mean anymore? Because you have AOC and Bernie Sanders endorsing the person you just showed, who sounds like a Reaganite. And there's a reason why many former conservatives or Republicans with Trump derangement syndrome feel so comfortable within the Democratic Party, because they have the exact same ideology of Ronald Reagan regarding criminal justice. That's why it would be a giant misstep if Trump tried to pretend otherwise. And I think it's funny regarding what you said, China, they have 4 times higher population than us despite having less prison population. And many people believe they're the authoritarian country. What does it say about our country that we imprison 1/4 of the world's prison population while calling ourselves the land of the free? Why we have so many Americans that have to take prescription pills, antidepressants, just to get by in this country, as they try to pretend that our system is somehow better than China or Russia. We are the authoritarian country, and we don't have the moral high ground over anybody.
Hey, do you owe back taxes? Pandemic relief is now over. Along with hiring thousands of new agents and field officers, the IRS has kicked off 2024 by sending over 5 million pay-up letters to those who have unfiled tax returns or balances owed. Don't waive your rights and don't speak to the IRS by yourself. I'm telling you. Dude, I did that once. It was a mistake. So don't waive your rights and don't speak to the IRS on your own. They're not your friends, and they're not your friends. Tax Network USA is a trusted tax relief firm, has saved over $1 billion in back taxes for their clients, and they can help you secure the best deal possible. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, they can help you, whether it's business or personal taxes. Even if you have the means to pay or you are on a fixed income, they can help finally resolve your tax burdens once and for all. Call 1-800-245-6000 for a private free consultation or visit tnusa.com/Jimmy. Hey, I'll see you on tour in Las Vegas, Chicago, and Grand Rapids. In Chicago, it's stand-up and a live panel show. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and make sure you go to jimmydore.com.